Welcome to Blue Book. Today, Beef Pho. We rely on 2 ingredients, beef bones and rice noodles, along with 5 major spices, that's coriander seeds, black cardamom, cinnamon, star anise and cloves. And please remember, all recipes are in the description below. So let's get started. We're going to take our beef bones. Now ideally we want some vertebrae in there because they have a lot of collagen, and collagen is what gives a really rich broth. Now we also have a long bone here. You can see there's a lot of marrow in there. That's going to give us a lot of flavour. I'm also going to prepare a little bit of brisket. Now we're just going to put this aside and cook it a little bit later. Now we're just going to use some oxtail. That's going to add some additional collagen, making our dish even richer. And you can also take the meat out later and give it a little fry in some spices, and it looks really good. Now I'm going to cover my bones with some tap water. I'm then going to bring that to just a gentle simmer. And you can see all that scum coming to the top. Okay, we're going to tip that down the sink and get rid of all those impurities. This is going to help us develop a very nice clear broth. Alright, let's get those bones out. Now we're going to give those a little wash. So just with some cold water, we're just going to rub those over and make sure we get all those little bits of grime off. And that's going to help us develop a really clear broth. While we're filling this up with water, can I get you to hit that like, subscribe and notification button? It will help a lot. Let's get back to it. Okay, we're going to take our bones and put them over a medium-high heat with 1 chopped onion. The onions add a little bit of flavour, but they also help to purify the stock a bit too. Now as that's going, we're going to gently skim the scum off the top of the broth. Now we're going to leave that cooking for at least 4 hours, but realistically you can't overcook this. The longer it goes, the better it tastes. Just make sure you top that up with water every time it runs a little bit low. Now on to our optional meatballs. I'm going to take down 1.5 kilos of beef mince. Taking my food processor, I'm going to put it on medium high and I'm going to chuck through my one sec. Okay, let's start again. Using our stand mixer, we're going to use our paddle attachment and begin to mix our beef on low speed. To a bowl, add 4 grams of sugar, 15 grams of tapioca starch, 16 grams of soy sauce, a good pinch or roughly 20 grams of salt, 10 grams of white pepper, around 2 grams of ginger powder, followed by about 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. I'm also going to add a splash of cold water just to loosen it up a little bit. Give that a little mixy mix. Now add that mixture to our bowl. Now we're going to increase that speed to around medium high for another 5 minutes. Afterwards we should get these nice little strands forming, which is going to help hold our meatballs together. Okay, into a pan that I'm lining with a neutral oil. I'm going to take my meatballs, hold them between my palms, and I'm going to squeeze the meat through. Now the reason I'm doing this is just to make sure no air gets inside those meatballs. Now I'm going to roll those around just to get a little bit better of a shape on those. Look at that. Fantastic. Now over some gently simmering water, I'm going to place my meatballs in. Now in about 2 to 3 minutes after they rise to the surface, they should be done. Now please make sure we don't overcook this. No one likes dry balls. Now at this point our broth has been cooking for around 6 hours. At this time I'm going to put my brisket back into the broth and that will take around 30 minutes to cook. Okay, now onto our spices. I'm going to add some coriander seeds to a pan. Basically to the point where I think, yeah, that's a fair bit of coriander seeds. Now I'm going to add 2 to 3 black cardamoms, a little handful of cloves. I'm going to break up a couple sticks of cinnamon. Add in our star anise and begin to put it over heat until we get a nice char on those spices. Don't worry if you burn them a little bit, that's okay. Now over an open flame I'm going to add some onions just to get a good char on that, get a little bit of flavour in there. Add some ginger as well. And then I'm going to add some garlic. Now please don't be afraid to get a little bit of burnt bits on there. I want to see a little black on those. Now we're going to add those into our pot. We're going to let that simmer for another 30 to 40 minutes. It is really important to do that near the end. Otherwise you lose the flavour of those individual spices. Now just before we added those spices we got our brisket out. So let's have a look at that. Look at that. Okay, now for the ultimate test. Meet Millie. She is known as a good doggo and the ultimate taste tester. And instant replay! Just look at that form. 10 out of 10. Okay, back to the food. We're just going to take one onion and we're going to get some nice little thin slices. We're going to put those onions into some ice water that actually neutralizes the sulfur compounds in it, which stops that characteristic sharpness that an onion has and has a bit more of a sweetness to it. Now we're going to just strain our broth into a pot. And then we're going to prepare our beef. Now I've had this beef in a freezer for around 15 to 20 minutes just to make sure I can slice this beef really thin so the broth will be able to cook it through. I'm going to get my noodles on the go and cook them according to the packet instructions. Now in this pot that is just broth at this point, I'm going to season it with fish sauce. There shouldn't really be a need to add any salt to this. And now we're going to add our sweetness. Now I have white sugar here, but brown's probably preferable. Now there's not really a go-to guide here with how much to add, but just add as much as you think until you think, yep, that's a pretty darn good broth. Okay, time to get me some noodles. Okay, I'm going to add some slices of my brisket. I'm going to add just a good little chunk of my beef, some of our previously made meatballs, and a good scoop of some spring onions and regular onions. A nice little sprinkle of some chili, and I'm going to pour over my broth. Now this broth is going to cook all that raw beef, so don't worry about it being raw. We're going to finish that with a good squeeze of lime, some mint. You can add some Thai basil or some coriander, and let's give that a taste. It's hot, it's got a little bit of sweetness, it's full of umami, it's got a little bit of sourness. It is one of the best soups you'll ever make. Now traditionally you would serve this with bean sprouts, but I think I'll prefer to have my tongue nailed directly to the floor. Anyway, I hope you try this at home, and please let me know what other dishes you want me to do from scratch.